Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So today we are going to talk about GraphQL and we'll see live action with Spring Boot. So before that, we'll understand what is GraphQL. So you can see this is a official page of GraphQL. So GraphQL is a query language and it was developed by Facebook. It provides more efficient, powerful, and flexible alternative to our traditional REST APIs. GraphQL allows client to request only the data they need. So I'll give more clarity to that. Like let's say we have an endpoint which returns like student information, like ID, student name, student class, student section, student class teacher name. So we have two different client. Let's say we have an web application and we have some other application, let's say desktop application or mobile application. They need different data format. Like they only need like our web application need all the student information, and our other application like desktop and mobile application, they need only student ID, name, and uh, class and section. So for that there is a alternative. Like in REST API we can create two different APIs to provide different response, but that is like that becomes a cost overhead. So what GraphQL does, so it creates a it uses the same API and returns two different response for two different endpoints, sorry, for two different client. So so let's understand that. So this is our GraphQL official homepage, you can see over here. So first see, describe your data. Like here it is a project, then project name, tagline, contributors. So this is our like let's say this is our data, and ask what you want. Let's say from my project I wanted a tagline. So then get the predictable result. So here from the project we the uh, only get the tagline of that project, but we have of the project, but we have like all lot of information over there. So let's get started with this and we'll see in action with Spring Boot. So yeah, so see GraphQL. So this is like GraphQL, and you can see over here. So we are concerned over our like so, but we are going to do it with Java. So let's go to that. And in Java you can see here a GitHub project for our GraphQL. Yeah, so let's start building our GraphQL project with Spring Boot, and we'll see. So we'll see how it goes. So this is our Spring initializer page. So here we are going to create like Spring Boot application. So let's start that. So let's create with Maven, and we'll keep our Spring Boot version 3.2.1, and we'll keep some let's say com dot like lot with Bhaskar, group name with Bhaskar, then artifact will give uh, GraphQL Spring Boot or Spring Boot GraphQL, anything you want. uh, so yeah, so let's Spring Boot GraphQL. So demo project for Spring Boot, integrate Spring. So let's you can change your description as per demo project for Spring Boot with GraphQL. Well, okay. So here we need so I'm using Java 21. So here we need dependencies like GraphQL. Then I need GPA. I'll using GPA. Also I'll be using for GraphQL we can use any database, as you know. So for now, for this project I'll be using like S2 in memory DB. uh, so let's add that. Then I'm going to add Lombok. So then I'm going to add wave. Yeah, so initially we need these five dependencies. So we'll add over the time. So okay, so let's generate our project. And yeah, our project got downloaded, and I'm going to open that. So yeah, so let me open this project in IntelliJ, and we'll like work over there. Okay, so I have open like my Spring Boot project over here in IntelliJ. So let's see what I have got. So I have a src folder. So see my like maven dependencies are still getting built. So yeah, so let me see the project structure. So we have a resource, and we have, see, the GraphQL folder got created over here. Then we have a GraphQL application class. Then we have application properties. So here we are going to use S2 database. So let's add properties for that. So so first I'll add the port. Let my project run on 9090. Then spring dot s2 dot console. Then true, my s2 console enabled true, sorry. Then I'll add the properties for data source. So for data source, like spring dot data source url. So url will be jdbc colon s2. Then I'll memory mem. Then I'll give the data table db name. Let's table db is like university db. Okay. So this is my data source url. Then since we are going to create a project for a university, and we are going to fetch the student information. So yeah, so this is my url. This is sorry, password. Let's give the password as root, and username username as let's say root. We'll keep both root. And let's say my driver class name will be okay. So this is my, so yeah, for jpa. So this is for our data source url configuration for our s2 database. So for jpa we need to also add some configurations. So for like for example, we have to give some spring spring jpa data base platform. So that will be our s2. So for s2 you have something like org dot hibernate dot dialect. Then you have to s2 dialect. Okay. So similarly, we also have to provide the DDL auto, then Spring JPA, DDL. I'll give as update. So whenever any schema, so that means whenever any schema changes, it update that entity. Okay. So let's so for viewing, so for query purpose, we can give like show SQL true. Okay. So yeah, so that's it. So our configuration is done. So uh, so let's create a entity class for our project. So I'll create some class like entity. So let's say student. Okay, student. So I have a student in class. So here I'll give entity, then I'll give okay, so table name will be students. Okay, students. So let's add the uh, like details for the students, like student ID, private int, no. So let's keep it long, ID. So I'll annotate this with ID. I'll give the generated value. So my strategy will be identity, so that it will or so it will generate automatically. Okay, so then I'll give the student name, private string name, then string class name, string section. Let's give the class teacher name, class teacher name, city name. Okay, so let's have this much information for our student table. So I'll create getters, generate getters and setters, generate getters and setters for all. So yeah, so let's see, let's start our project and see this in action. Okay, as you can see, our application got started with 9090. So let's see our S2 database. So S2. Okay, so our database name is here, DB name is root, password is root, then our okay, so JDBC URL is okay, test successful. So let's connect. Okay, so you can see our student table got created with ID, CT, class name, name, section. Okay, so yeah, so first so let's insert some record to this table. So I will have some insert query over here. Okay, so let's create some so let's create a repo so that will insert some data to our database. So for that, okay, let's go over here. We'll using something like repository. Okay, so which will extends or extends JPA repository. Class name will be students and ID will be long. Okay, okay, so this is our student repository. So let's create some students while starting our application. So we can do it in different way. We can create some insert query and run over our S2 database. So that should do the work, but I want to show you in a different way. So for that, like we have to, we can implement like our command line runner, something like command line runner, and we have to override the run method over here. And then let me auto add like so student repository. So I'll create student this one equals to new student. Okay, so I'll add the student name. Let's say Rahul, first name, s1 dot set class. Let's say class is sorry, set so class name is standard one or one, and this one dot set section. Let's say section is A. This one dot set class teacher name. Let's Radhika. Let's say something Radhika Sharma. Okay. So I have, then I'll save this repository dot save. As you know, I'll save the book entity. Sorry. So I'll save the student entity over here. So similarly, I'll copy paste and create some like some more classes, some more entities, sorry, some more students. Okay. Okay, so now our API and service controller and service class got created, and our we also have some data in our database. So so let's run this application and test our endpoints. So here, okay, there is some error. Okay, student service couldn't. Okay, so yeah, so I think I missed something over here in student service. Okay, I missed to add this service annotation. Okay, that service. Okay, so now restart our application. Okay, so we got something. Our data got inserted into some dummy data got inserted to our database. So let's go to the postman and test this API. Get all. Okay, so get all. Okay, sorry. Students. Student. Get all. Okay, localhost 9090 students. What I'm missing? So student controller. Student. Sorry. Okay, all. Sorry. Okay, so now you can see we have all the uh, student list over here. I'm getting the response. So let's see. So here now we'll test the create API. So for create, let me copy this one, and I'll make the as a post, then it will be raw, then it will be the JSON. Then here I'll remove the ID since our ID is auto generated. Let's give a name called Amit. Amit, and the class is standard 3, and section A, and let's the class teacher is Ramakant Misra, and I'll create the API, and we got post. Now let and the with ID 6. Now fetch that now let fetch that student with 6, and we got it. Okay, we understand how to create a Spring Boot application, and we also have created some traditional REST API with endpoints like create student, get all student, and get student by ID. So next we'll learn how to create GraphQL schema to uh, to run this application to make it GraphQL ready. So as of now our REST API is ready. So now we have to work on our GraphQL part. So for GraphQL we have to create a schema file for that. So in our resource, under resource folder, there is a GraphQL folder. Then inside that we have to create a file called schema dot graph GraphQLs. So we need to like remember this format. GraphQLs should be the extension. Um, then okay. So as of now I don't need that. Okay. So I'll give the type. So first type will be our student. Student student student. Okay, so inside student, so let me see what we have ID, name, class name, section. So I'll copy all this. So where is so I'll keep something like ID. So just ID, id. So this is the format we need to remember. Then I have name as a string, then class name as a string, so you can do it by whatever convenient to you in that way. Okay, so so okay, so then section also string, string. Okay, so then we also have class teacher name, that is also string. So this is the query format for type format for GraphQL, string, and I don't need this one. Okay, and okay, then I have to go. Okay, so then I have to also prepare query for this too. Type query. So we have to query like uh, all that will be the returning of that will return all students. So that can be array of student, student. Okay, then we have one more query, that get uh, get student by id. So by id, so that will be something like student id, and type will be long, and our return type will be student. Okay, so this is our to query. Okay, so now we have to write mutation for our create student API. So for create student API we have to write mutation. That's how works in GraphQL. Mutation, so that endpoint will be like something create student, or create student, something like that. Then my type will be so input will be student, so that will be student input, student input. My response will be student. So now I have to create a input of type student input. So let's see what I provide during creating an student. So let me go to the create name class section. Okay, so let's provide this type over here. So name I'll give a string, okay, string, and class name also string. Section, function also string. Okay, so let me format to some index, format this. Okay, so this is what my input looks like name, class name, section and class teacher name. So let me go to my controller. So in controller I'll remove the traditional REST approach. So here I'll remove something REST controller and request mapping. I don't need that because I'll be accessing it through query GraphQL queries. So let's give it a controller, something controller. Then here for get mapping I'll give query mapping. Since there is no endpoint here, though there will be query mapping. So for query mapping I'll use the method called query method called get which one I'm trying to, okay, get student by ID. So that is what I am going to do. Get student by ID, and there is no path variable, so here long student ID, and here it is student ID. I think instead of path variable we can use something called argument. Okay, and here it is student ID in our over here. So yeah, then it's fine. So for this I'll use the query as all. So remove this get mapping. So here I'll query mapping. So my query will be all. So let to more specific, make it get all. Okay, so get all. So now for okay, now we'll create student. So for create student we'll be using mutation mapping, and our API will be create student sorry. So this is our query input. Then our instead of request body we'll be using argument. Okay, so instead of this I'll be creating student input, and my okay, so I need to create a student input. In the entity let me create a different class student input. Student input. So I'll be having something this much parameter, and I'll be having at the rate gen code generate getters and setters. Okay, input class. We have to map our student input to student object. So let's create a student is equals to new student. So is dot set name equals to student dot get name. So similarly we have to fill all the details. Is dot set set city name to student. So hi everyone. So previously I was getting some error while executing get student by ID. So here I am passing a long value. So actually it was not readable by the GraphQL schema. So for that I have to create a scalar long, scalar of type long, and to configure that scalar long I have created a GraphQL configuration file, configuration class, which will like use to return like runtime wiring configurer. So here we are like binding our like GraphQL long object. And yeah, so after changing this, so we are able to use long in our GraphQL query. So similarly, we have to, if we are going to use some other field, so we can use that, we can use the configuration for the same. So let's test this API with GraphQL query. So our endpoint is ready now to work with GraphQL. So let's test that API. Now our GraphQL API is ready. We can test this using Postman. So let's go to our Postman and test our GraphQL API. So here I'll go to new, then GraphQL. So here I have to provide my API like host, local host 9090, then I'll put GraphQL. So if you put this, so it will 090 GraphQL. Okay, so yes, my application is running. No, sorry, application is not running. So let's start our application first. Okay, so application up and running. So we got like 5 records to our database. So let's try again. Okay, so you see we got all the queries whatever we defined in our schema, GraphQL schema. So let's test one by one. So first we'll test get all. So by default we'll have all the records to our database. Now let's fetch everything like ID, name, class name, section, and class teacher name. So once I do that, see I got I got everything, all the records with every field. So let's say I only need like name and let's say my other web application, like let's say my web application need only name and class name and section. So for that I'll only select, I'll only give the query name, class name and section for get all. So if I'll fetch that, I'll get all the like students with field like name, class name and section. Similarly we can do the filter over here, like whatever fields we need we can give provide that client side and we'll get the result accordingly. So similarly we'll test like get student by ID. So here the main thing is our student ID. We have to pass the student ID and we have to get the field whatever we want. So let's fetch student ID with, first we'll fetch all the field like class number 6, section, and class teacher name. So let's fetch the student ID 5. Okay, so now you can see we got everything over here. So that's how our GraphQL works, like it gives the fields based upon our choice. So it is just a like client side query language, you can see, you can say. So let's say we will fetch the student by ID with some custom field we don't need over here section and class teacher name, and we can query that. We'll get the only ID, name and class name for student ID 5. So similarly we'll do a create a student. So let's go over there. So for our create student endpoint, we'll click over here and we'll close all the other things. So here it is, so whatever the fields we want we can provide over here, and here is our student input. So see, student input by default it is null, so we have to provide the arguments like this. Okay, so if you need so we need name, class name, section, and class teacher name. Okay, so let's provide the name as let's say Rashmika. Class name is like standard bad 6, and section let's give it section A, and class teacher name let's give Mr. X. Okay, so now we need, so we have so we are going to create a student name Rasmika with class name standard 6 and section A, and class teacher name Mr. X. So let's get, and so this is our response type. We'll get all the fields over here in our response. If we want, we can customize that as well. We can remove some section from here, like if we don't need class teacher name in the response, so we can do that. So let's first we'll get everything, and see our student got created with id 6, and we are getting all the fields over here, whatever fields we provided over here. So now let's create a student and get only the fields we want. Let's give a student name called Kajol. Okay, so class name I'll keep standard 7, and section I'll keep D, and class teacher name is let's say Mr. Y. So here in response I don't need class teacher name, and I don't need class name over here. Okay, so let's do that and create. See, our student got created with id 7 and name with Kajal and section D. So right now we have created 7 students for this application. So let's again test our get all and see that all the students got created or not. Okay, so for we are going to fetch get all query. So if you see over here, this is our get all query. We are going to use this type of query like this, and we are going to fetch all the fields. Here if you want to remove some field, or we are going to it based upon our client. So whatever they want they can add, whatever they want they don't need, they can remove that. So here we no need to touch our backend. So one, it is by GraphQL we can use our same endpoint for different purpose. Okay, so yeah, so see, so our all the students got created. We can see our all the students over here, and the field name which here we want. So I'm going to remove the section, so you can see our section, we are not getting any section over here. So yeah, so that's all about today. So you can see we have created a, so let's wrap up the session. So what we did, we have understand the GraphQL concept. So GraphQL is nothing but it is a query language, and it is developed by Facebook, and it is generally used to optimize our traditional REST APIs. So we can use it is the alternative of our REST API. So it reduce the cost overhead, and we can use the same endpoint for different application. So we can also customize our response over here. So also we have created a REST API for our demo. So we have created a student API, where we can create student, and we can also fetch all the student whichever created, and we can also fetch the student by ID, and also we can get the custom response based upon our GraphQL query. So yeah, so that's all about today. So thanks for watching. For more such videos, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Yeah, goodbye.